Hi everyone, welcome to the Coding Channel. Today is the 38th episode of a Java programming tutorial series. And in this episode, we are going to talk about the grid layout in Java. These and more when we come back. Another way of a layout manager that we can use to arrange GUI components in Java is the grid layout. Now, the grid layout is used to arrange the GUI components in a rectangular grid. One component or one GUI component is displayed in each rectangle. So let's say, for example, we have an array of buttons because the grid layout is applicable if you have a GUI components having the same width and having the same height. So for instance, we have the array of buttons 16 here, and then I will be using the for loop to instantiate a buttons object and then having the text on it. We have, for example, 0 to 15. Okay, and then we use the add button and with button sub index to add each individual buttons in our frame. Okay, but if we're going to run this again, okay, so as you can see, the last button, which is the button 15, is the only visible. Okay, because we don't have any layout manager. Now, for instance, I'm going to use the grid layout, the first grid layout. So the grid one there, using a set layout here inside of the constructor method. So grid one. So this one is an example of a no argument grid layout. So meaning, if you want to display a column per GUI component. So let's try to run by using this type of declaration. So as you can see, if you're going to maximize this one, so we now have the 16 buttons, okay, all in one line, okay, but having a 16 columns. So it's because we used the no argument grid layout. Now another example that we can use is the grid layout having two parameters. The first one represents the row, and the second parameter or argument is the number of columns. So for example, we have 4 rows and 4 columns. If we're going to use this layout, so let me just change this to grid 2. So this time I'm using the second grid layout. Okay, so this is now the output. Okay, the only difference is that we now have the 4 rows and the 4 columns. If you're going to maximize this, so the size of the buttons are equal. So that's the use of grid layout. Okay, now another example is the grid layout having 4 arguments. So this time we have the number of rows and columns, and then the horizontal gap, meaning the pixels in between GUI components, and then also we have the vertical gap. So for example, we have 10 and 10. So if we're going to use that, I just have to change this to grid 3. Okay, that's the object name of our third layout manager, just grid layout, still grid layout. Okay, so there you go. So we have the 10 pixels horizontal gap in between, and then we also have the vertical gap here. Okay, that's it. If we're going to maximize again, we still have the same width and height of our buttons. Okay, so this is the type of example that we can use using the grid layout. Now, what if, for example, we want to change this one to an image or icons instead of text? Okay, so that we can have a like a memory a game. Okay, so using grid layout, that is very helpful. Okay, so let me show you the another example. Okay, because the first question there is how are we going to do that? How are we going to display icons inside of our buttons? Okay, so the first thing that we need to do, okay, is again to instantiate an object, an array of buttons. For example, we have 16. So this time around, since we will change the numbers 0 to 15 to icons, so we need to have or to declare an array of icons. So for example, you declare string button icons, and then you specify all the file names available in your project. So in my case here, take note that, for example, I'm working on the this project name, episode 26, and then I copy and paste all the icons here. Okay, so make sure that these are now available in my project. Okay, if you're using Eclipse. So after that, so this is the second step. After you have put all the file names of your icons, and then you've already declared here the array of buttons. Okay, the next step is to have a for loop, okay, to instantiate buttons. Okay, how are we going to do that? A buttons index or sub-index. So buttons is the array name of our button, is equal to new JButton. So take note of the difference. Without icon, so we've just used the empty string and then the variable index. But if you want to have an image, okay, you just have to use a new image icon. Image icon is a class within javax.swing package, and then the argument is the string array here, button icons, and then index. So for example, if the value of index there is 0, so we are referring to button icon sub 0 here, which is the lock4.png. So this one is button icon sub 1 to 2 3 up to 15. Okay, and then after the instantiation, so we add all the buttons in our frame by having add and then the buttons, which is the name of the buttons again, sub index. Okay, and then if you're going to run this without the layout manager, again, you can only see the one button having now the icon. Okay, but if you're going to use the grid layout, this time the grid layout having two arguments, meaning I have here 4 rows and then 4 columns. Okay, so I will be using that grid 3 using setLayout here inside of our constructor method. If we're going to run, we can now start the memory game. Okay, we will just need to add here the functionality or add the event handling for us to have a like a memory game. Okay, so this is the example program that we can use the grid layout layout manager. Okay, so that's it. If you're going to change, for example, if you want to put a space here, let me try again. So we just have to put a 10, the horizontal gap and the vertical gap. We're going to run. Okay, so which one do you prefer, having spaces in between or without space? Okay, so that's how we use the grid layout layout manager in Java. And that's all for today. And if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And as always, show your love through comments and favorites. God bless and thank you for watching.